We are currently going to do outer tie rod and a strut for a 2013 Charger. So to remove the wheel, it's a 22 millimeter socket. So now the wheel is off. We already replaced the rotor, and this is one of the slide-on rotors. The only thing you have to do is actually take the brake caliper bracket off to put this rotor on. But this time now, we're coming back in. We're going to be doing the outer tie rod. And we're also going to be replacing this strut. It is no good. Okay, so we're going to remove the tie rod in. Then that's the bolt right here in the center. We got to take the bottom bolt for the strut loose, which is right here. Which this is, I believe, a 18. And then the stabilizer link we have to take loose, which that one is a 21 millimeter to take loose. And once we remove this bolt, that bolt, we have 3 more up top for the strut. Once we remove these 3, then the strut will come right out. So we're gonna go ahead and remove this strut and this tie rod in, and I'll be back. So for us to take the tie rod loose, we have to put a crescent wrench on both the tie rod, on the outers, and on the inner nut. So this way when we turn it, we're gonna turn the tie rod straight off.
Like that. Broke it loose. Bam. Now, this just needs to come off the tie rod.
Pickle fork. Hold on.
And show them. And then after, while this is loose, now we can access this bolt without the arm being in the way.
Okay, hold on.
So that's another thing you want to tell them. Why this? You gonna say them?
I got you.
Okay.
Okay, when breaking the lower bolt for the strut loose, you're definitely going to want to use a breaker bar. And if you got a piece of pipe for leverage, the reason being, first off, 90% of the time these bolts are factory in, rusted. They're impacted. They're not going to easily come loose. And if you try to use a regular ratchet, more than likely you're going to break your ratchet, strip it out. It's not going to break it loose. You're going to need a breaker bar. So now we're ready to take the top 3 bolts loose, which is a 13 millimeter. These shouldn't be too tough. You don't need a breaker bar. Just a regular socket and ratchet should do the trick. Okay, so now we have the strut out. We have tie rod off. And we're basically ready to reassemble and put the strut back in and put it all back together. So we have the strut now back in place. We got 1 bolt left on the strut, that's the lower, and then we just got to connect the tie rod back and the control arm. We had to take the control arm loose to get the whole hub assembly to drop down to get the strut out. Okay, now we got everything put back together. What we have to do here, we have to line the hole up in the bolt with the nut and put the cotter pin through, and that's going to stop the tie rod from coming loose.
We do it.
So now we have the cotter pin installed, and this tie rod is in. It's a brand new tie rod. So now we got the control arm back together, struts in. The last thing we have to do at this point is put the wheel back on, and this is complete. I appreciate you guys viewing. Thanks.